Okay guys, welcome back to our USSD series, where we'll be building a USSD application using JavaScript and Firebase Cloud Functions. In this setup, we'll configure our Firebase platform and learn how to write our first cloud function. So with that being said, if you are excited, let's jump right in. Alright, so the first thing we are going to do is head over to our browser, open up your browser, and then search console.firebase.google.com. So when you get to the console, we need to create a new project. So click on add a new project, and we have to give it a name. So I'm going to call this project my USSD, right? And then click on continue. If you want to have analytics, you can leave it on, but I want to disable it, and then we'll click on create project. So this will take a little while, and we just let the project to start. Great, so we have our project running now. The project is created, so click on continue, and then the only thing we are going to do is configure or set up cloud functions. We are not going to do the Firebase hosting or Firebase storage or any of the other stuff. So click on the build here, and then come down to functions over here. Click on functions, and then we need to upgrade the project. So if you are starting out with the Firebase platform, you are on the Spark plan, right? The Spark plan. But to be able to use functions, you need to upgrade the project to the Blaze plan. So this is the Blaze plan. You can read the full, you can see the full plan details over here. It shows you the various things that you can be able to use. So if you scroll down, you realize that the functions, what is it? Cloud functions, yes, it's not applicable under the Spark plan, but it's only applicable under Blaze. So we are going to subscribe to it, and it's basically free until you reach the maximum number of requests that you make. There's no cost up to 2 million requests per month. After that, you'll just be paying $0.4 for every request, every million requests, right? Great. So here we select this plan. So you need to set up the Blaze plan, right? So what you need to know is that you have to set up your billing account. So over here I have my billing account already set up. So make sure to set up a billing account, and then after that click on continue. So here I want to skip this step and then click on purchase. So with that, we are done. We've been able to set up this project to use functions. So if I come over to functions now, you realize that we are going to click on get started. So click on get started, and then it's asking us to install the Firebase tools. So we already did that in our previous video, right? We already installed the Firebase tools in our previous video. I'll leave the link over here so you can go and watch that. So click on OK, and then click on finish. Good. Right, so after that we've configured our Firebase platform to use cloud functions. So the next thing we need to do is to open up VS Code and then start writing code for our application. So I'm going to create a new folder here. So I'm going to create a new folder, and let's call this folder my USSD. You can give it any name at all you like. So I'm calling it my USSD, and I'm going to drag it into VS Code. Great. So now that we have this project set up, we are going to initialize Firebase in this directory. So make sure you are in this directory, open up the terminal, and then let's initialize Firebase. So we type in Firebase in it, hit on enter, and this will initialize Firebase. We'll have to answer some series of questions to complete this task. So here, are you ready to proceed? We say yes. Now we are asked the various features we want to add in this project. So the one that we are going to use is just functions. So functions is the only one that we are going to use. We click on it, and then we are going to select an existing project. So select an existing project, and then the name of that project is my USSD. So use the arrow keys to move up, space to select, and then enter to select that application. So click on enter, and then we have to specify the name of the language. So the name of the language we are going to use is JavaScript. So if you want to use TypeScript or Python, you can do that, but for this tutorial we are using JavaScript. So click on enter, and it's asking if you want to use ESLint. I don't want to use ESLint. And then, do you want to install dependencies with npm now? We say yes. So if you don't have npm installed, this part will not run. That's why we created the first video on how to install Node.js on the system. So you can go and watch that. Make sure you set up Firebase tools. Make sure it's running on your computer, and then get back to this video to continue with the series. Right, so click on yes, and this will take a little while. So as this is running, we are going to just wait for it to finish up installing all the dependencies that we are going to use, and then we will jump into writing the code for this. So I'll fast forward this video. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but just know that it's going to install all the dependencies that this application is going to use. So I'll get back to this when it's finished installing. Great. So we have we've successfully initialized Firebase in this project, and it has installed the various dependencies that we are going to use. Nice. So let me bring this down a little, minimize this, and then over here we realize that we have some new files and folder over here. So we have the functions folder, Firebase rc, get ignored, and firebase.json. We are not going to bother with these ones. We are heading straight into the functions folder. Now inside the functions folder, we have the package.json, package log.json, and then we have the node modules, get ignore, and then index.js. So the node modules contains the various packages that is installed on this or the dependencies that are on this application, right? So the package.json specifies the name of those dependencies. So we have Firebase functions, Firebase admin over here, and their version numbers as well. It also contains the scripts that we'll be using to run our application. So if you want to run the serve, the shell start, or deploy logs, these are where you find the scripts. So we are going to be using this in a little while, but for now we will not touch on that. So the get ignore is if we initialized get on this application, meaning if we want to push the entire code base to GitHub, we don't want to be pushing stuff like the node modules on because it's huge. That's why we have the package.json. So if the package.json is in the file, the whoever is copying your code, right, they'll have access to these dependencies and they can download it on their own devices. So the only file we are going to focus on is the index.js over here. So here we have some boilerplate code over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of them, and then we are going to write the code from scratch. So just delete this, and so we are going to declare the variable functions. So say const functions is equal to, so we are going to require the Firebase functions is equal to require Firebase functions, just like that. Great. So the next thing we need to do is to create the export, right? So we say exports dot, so here you can give it any name at all you like. You can call it whatever name you want. So I'm going to call this new USSD is equal to, good. So here we say functions dot https dot on request, and then here it takes a callback function. So the callback function will take the request and then the response. So here it's an arrow function, by the way. So you set it up like this. So the only thing we want to do here is to send back some response, some information, meaning just telling us that we have successfully created our cloud function, and then we are just getting some data back. In the next video, we'll see how we will write the logic for the USSD menu and how we do all those stuff. So here, what we are going to do is we are going to say response dot send, and here it can be any message at all you want. So the message that you want to send back, so that's the message that will be displayed in the browser, right? So I'm just going to say hello from my cloud function, like this. Great. So with this, we've successfully created a simple cloud function. Save it, and the next thing we have to do is to deploy this application, right? So we need to deploy this code. So what we are going to do is we come down to the terminal. Make sure you're in the terminal, and then we say Firebase deploy, just like that. Firebase deploy this script that we have. So it's going to look in and it's going to run this command, Firebase deploy -- only functions, right? So this command will run this, right? So hit on enter, and then we give it a little bit of time, as this might take a little while. Now over here, I recommend that you have a stable internet connection. I've had instances where deploying it, because there's a slight break in internet connection, it tends to give errors. So make sure you have a stable internet connection and just leave it to run. So after some few seconds, you see that this is deployed, and then we'll see it in the browser. So let's just give it some time. I'll get back when this is done. I'll just fast forward the video, right? Okay, so I got an error. It says you failed to create the projects my USSD locations. Function deploy had errors with the following functions. Okay. I think the problem was with my internet connection, so I'm going to run the deploy again. So if you have a problem like this, just run deploy again, and then just wait for it to finish. Hopefully this time we will not get an error. Okay, so we are still getting the error. Let me head over to the console to see what we are having. So let's refresh this, and it's not working. Let me double check something. Okay, let me Firebase login. Okay, so we are signed in. Yes, let me run the deploy one last time. Okay, so we finally succeeded. So if you get this URL back, something like this, then it means it was a success. So I think the problem was I had a problem with my internet connection, so that's why we had the failure on those two deploys. But here we get this back, so that's a good sign. So this URL, we are going to copy it. Just copy it, and here we see we got the deploy complete, right? So let's head back to the functions section, right? Reload this, and we should get this here. So we say we get the trigger, that's the HTTP request, and this is good. So let's open up the URL over here, just paste it in a new tab, hit enter, and then we get it. Hello from my cloud function, the same as what we have here. Hello from my cloud function, right? So that's good. This is good. Progress is good. So we've successfully created our first cloud function. In the next video, we are going to focus on writing out the logic for this, for the USSD, and then integrating it into Africa's token platform, and then we see how it works. So congratulations if you were able to get to this part. But if you have any errors or you face some few challenges, you can leave them in the comment section. I'll be sure to get back to you on that. So thank you guys for following along. I'll see you in the next video.